tax operating income of 1,196,500, and then we deduct the total dollar amount of capital employed of 1,303,500. That gives us the economic value added, which is negative. In other words, the total amount of capital employed, that's actually taken by multiplying the amount of capital employed by the weighted average cost of capital. So the EVA is negative. Ignacio Incorporated is destroying capital because the EVA is negative. The after-tax earnings are less than the after-tax cost of capital. Now, the company is destroying capital if the EVA is negative. However, if the EVA is positive, then the company is creating capital, no? It's destroying if there is a negative result. Now, in number 4, what if Ignacio had common stock, which was less risky than other stocks and commanded a risk premium of 5%? How would that affect the weighted average cost of capital? And how about EVA? Now, take note that the risk premium in the problem is 5%. In the case of requirement 4, the common stock were less risky and had a lower risk premium. The weighted average percentage cost of capital would be lower. That will be 0.0689, and the total dollar amount of capital employed would be lower. As a result, Eva would be positive and Ignacio would be creating wealth, not destroying. So the EVA will be 1,196,000, and we have to deduct 1,033,000, leaving us a positive EVA equal to the amount of 163,000. So this time the EVA is positive. Next, number 4, determining market-based negotiated transfer prices. Companies, a number of divisions, including the Alamosa division, producer of surgical blades, and the Travaris division, a manufacturer of medical instruments. Alamosa produces 2.6 centimeters steel blade that can be used by Tavares Division in the production of scalpels. The market price of the blade is $21. Cost information for the blade is the variable product cost 9.70 and the fixed cost of 5.50. The total product cost of $15.20. Tavares needs 15,000 units of the 2.6 cm blade per year. Alamosa Division is at full capacity, 90,000 units of the blade. Question 1. If Care Incorporated has a transfer pricing policy that requires transfer at market price, what would be the transfer price? B. Do you suppose the Alamosa and Tavares division would choose to transfer at their price, at that price? Now, take note that we have the first requirement really with regards to requirement 1. So now in requirement 1, what would be the transfer price in number 4? The market price is 21. As given the problem, we have the market price of the blade is 21. So from 21, both Tavares and Alamosa divisions would be willing to transfer at that price, since neither division would be worse off than if it bought sold in the outside market. So that's now for requirement number one. If Care incorporated a transfer pricing policy that requires transfer at full cost plus 25%, what would be the transfer price? Do you suppose that Alamos Santa Bar's divisions would choose to transfer at that price? So in number two, the minimum transfer price is 21. 21 actually is the given market price, and then we deduct 1.75 of the selling and distribution expense, so that gives the minimum price of 19.25. This is set by Alamosa, the selling division. The maximum transfer price is still 21. This is the market negotiating skills. So the case now of the minimum transfer price. So we have the amount of 21 minus 175. However, the maximum is 21. This price is the market price and is set by the Tavares, the buying division. Yes, both divisions would be willing to accept a transfer price within the bargaining range. Precisely what the transfer price would be depends on the negotiating skills of the Alamosa and Tavares division managers. Now, in number three, what if Alamosa division plans to produce and sell only 65,000 units of the 2.6 cm blade next year? Which division sets the minimum transfer price and what is it? Which division sets the maximum transfer price and what is it? Do you suppose that Alamosa and Tavares divisions would choose to transfer somewhat in the bargaining range? Now, in the case of number three, when the minimum transfer price is 9.70, that's the variable cost of production. It's given at 9.70. This is set by Alamosa, who is the buying division. Now we can set a maximum transfer price equal to 21. This price is the market price and is set by Tavares, the buying division. Yes, both divisions would be willing to accept a transfer price within the bargaining range. Precisely what the transfer price would be depends on the negotiating skills of the Alamosa and Tavares division managers. Notice that the fixed product costs are not included in the minimum transfer price because here because Alamosa will have to pay total fixed cost no matter how many units are produced. Next, we go to number 6. We have cornerstone 6 does 6, no? 6, 5, and 9. 6, 5. Refer to cornerstone exercise 4 for number 5. If Kerker Incorporated has a transfer pricing policy that requires transfer at full product cost, what would be the transfer price? Do you suppose that Alamosa and Tavares divisions would choose to transfer at that price? So in the case of number 1, the full cost transfer price is 1520. That's adding the variable and the fixed. Tavares division would be delighted with that price, but Alamosa division would refuse to transfer since 21. could be obtained in the outside market. Next, we have item 3, the variable product cost, product cost plus fixed fee is 11.20. So that's the sum of 920 and 2. If caretaker has a transfer pricing policy that requires a full cost plus 25%. What would be the transfer price? Do you suppose that Alamos and Tavares divisions would choose to transfer at that price? So we have now the cost plus transfer price is 19. That's the sum of 15.20 plus 25%. So you have 380 amo na ang 25%. The Tavares division would be delighted with that price, but Alamosa would refuse to transfer since 21 could be made in the outside market. Now, in number 3, if Car Care Incorporated has a transfer pricing policy that requires transfer at variable product cost plus a fixed fee of $2 per unit, what would be the transfer price? Do you suppose that Alamos and Tavares would choose to transfer? So we have now the variable policy, variable product product cost plus a fixed fee of $2 in number 3. So we have 9, 20, and we add 2, so that will be 1120. The variable product cost that requires a transfer, the variable product cost plus a fixed fee of 2 per unit. What would be the transfer price? Do you suppose that Alamos and Tavares divisions would choose to transfer at that price? So we have now the amount of 970, not 920. That's 970 plus 2. So 1170. Again, Tavares would be delighted, but Alamosa would refuse since it can sell all it produces at the outside market price of 21. Number 4, what if Alamosa plans to produce and sell only 65,000 units of the 2.6 cm blade next year? The Care Incorporated policy is that all transfers be at full cost. Which division sets the minimum transfer price and what is it? Which division sets the maximum transfer price and what is it? Do you suppose that Alamos and Tavares divisions would choose to transfer? So in the case of number 4, the minimum transfer price is the full cost of 15.20. This price is set by Alamosa, this selling division. The maximum transfer price is 21. The price is the market price and is set by the Tavares, the buying division. Both divisions would be willing to accept the transfer price of 15.20 per unit. Now, in the case of 10-5. Next, we have 10-6 or 6-6. Determining market-based negotiated transfer prices. Planahan Incorporated is a number of divisions around the world. Division US in the United States purchases a component from Division N in the Netherlands. The component can be purchased externally for 24.50 each. The freight and insurance on the item amount to 2.45. However, commissions of $2 need not be paid. Calculate the transfer price using the comparable uncontrolled price method. The comparable uncontrolled price is equal to the market price, that's 24.50, and then we add the freight and insurance, that's equal to 2.45, but we deduct the commissions of 2, since commissions of 2 need not be paid. So we have now 24.95. That's the transfer price. Suppose that there is no outside market for the component that Division N transfers to Division US. Further assume that Division US sells the component for $26 and normally receives a 30% markup on cost of goods sold. Calculate the transfer price using the resale price method. So in number 2, with no outside market for Division N and the resale price for Division US, the transfer price is calculated as follows. So we have the resale price, the sum of the transfer price plus the markup percentage multiplied by the transfer price. So we have 26 is equal to 1.30 times the transfer price. So the transfer price, now we transpose, we take 26 divided by 1.30. So the transfer price is equal to 20. That's now your answer to requirement number 2. Then we have number 3. Now assume that there is no external market for the component transferred from Division N to Division US, and that the component is used in the manufacture of another product such as it's not resold. Calculate the transfer price using the cost plus method. Further assume that Division N's manufacturing cost for the component is 18.20. So further assume that Division N's manufacturing cost for the component is 18.20. What if commissions avoided were 2.25 per unit? That's in requirement number 4. Now the answer to number 3, since we are asked for the transfer price using the cost plus method. So we have the manufacturing cost plus freight. The manufacturing cost is 18.20. The freight as given the problem is 2.45. So we now get 20.65. What if commissions avoided were 2.25 per unit? How would that affect the comparable uncontrolled price? The resale price, the cost plus price. If commissions increase to 2.25 per unit, only the comparable and controlled price would be affected. So that will be 24.70. So you only deduct 0.25 from 24.95 since the new larger commissions are subtracted. Now, next we have problem 6. Then we go to exercise number 7. We compute for requirement 1, ROI, margin, and turnover ratios for each of the furniture division. So first, we have the furniture division. Number 2 is houseware division. Computing now for the ROI. In year 1, it's taken by dividing the operating income of 1.4 million by the average operating assets. So you get 14%. In year 2, we have the operating income still divided by 10 million, so it's 15%. Then for the margin is computed by dividing the operating income of 1.4 million by sales. So you get 4%. In year 2, it's still the same. For the third requirement, we have the turnover ratios. So turnover is taken by dividing the sales by the average operating assets. So sales in year 1, 35 million divided by 10 million, 3.5. In year 2, 37.5 million divided by 10 million is 3.75. Now for the housewares division with the ROI, we are now dividing again the average the operating income for year 1, 600,000 divided by average operating assets. In year 2, 500,000 divided by 5 million. Then for second requirement, we have the margin taken by dividing the operating income by sales. So you get 5% and 4%. And for the third requirement, turnover, dividing sales by the average operating assets. So you have 2.4 and 2.5 times. Number 3, explain the change in ROI from year 1 to year 2 for each division. So for first, we have to explain the change in the ROI from year 1 to year 2 in the furniture division increased from 14 to 15% due entirely to the increase in turnover from 3.5 to 3.75. Margin for this division remained unchanged from year 1 to year 2. The housewares division, on the other hand, experienced a drop in ROI from 12 to 10%. The margin is in this division decreased from 5 to 4%, and the small increase in turnover from 2.4 to 2.5 was not enough to overcome the margin decline. Next, we go to 6-8 ROI and investment decisions. Now we have so far uh, ROI refer to exercise 6-7 for data. At the end of year 2, the manager of the houseware division is concerned about the division's performance. As a result, he is considering the opportunity to invest in two independent projects. The first is called the Expresso Pro. It is an in-home espresso maker that can brew regular coffee as well as make espresso and latte drinks. While the market for espresso drinkers is small initially, he believes this market can grow, especially around gift-giving occasions. The second is a mini prep appliance that can be used to do small chopping and dicing chores that do not require a full-size food processor. Without the investments, the division expects that year 2 data will remain unchanged. The expected operating incomes and the outlay required for each investment are as follows. So we have the Expresso Pro and the Mini Prep operating income and outlay. Jarius Corporate Headquarters has made available up to 500,000 dollars of capital for this division. Any funds not invested will be retained by headquarters and invested to earn the company's minimum required rate of return, which is 9%. So in number one, compute the ROI for each investment. Number two, compute for the divisional ROI, rounded to four significant digits for each of the following four alternatives. Assuming that divisional managers are evaluated and rewarded on the basis of ROI performance, which alternative do you think the divisional manager will choose? So for our solutions to 6-8, the ROI for each investment. So for the Expresso Pro, ROI is operating income 27,500 divided by the outlay, meaning the assets involved. So the ROI is 11%. For the mini prep, it's 19,000 divided by 200,000, or you get 9.5%. Then we have to compute for the divisional ROI, starting with Espresso Pro, we add only mini prep, we add only mini prep, and then we add both projects and maintain status quo. So the operating income for add only, we begin with, actually we go back to 6-7. We add 500,000. That's the operating income for year 2, 500,000 plus the operating income of Espresso Pro. So we get 527,500. For the mini prep, we are adding 500,000 and 19,000. You get 519,000. For add both projects, we add to 500,000, 27,500 and 19,000. So we are getting 546, 500. And for maintain status quo, meaning we have to maintain without any additional investments. So the ROI here is taken by dividing the operating income by the operating assets. Now we have the highest ROI if we are going to no, the add only Espresso Pro that gives the highest ROI. The manager will invest only in the Expresso Pro since that alternative has the highest ROI, and adding only mini prep has lower ROI than maintaining status quo. Okay, so that will be for 6-8. Then we move to 6, actually 6-9 is still similar with residual income. We go to 6-10. 6-10, calculating EVA. The company manufactures elderberry wine. Last year, it earned operating income of 192 after income taxes. Capital employed equal 2.3 million. Brewster is 45% equity and 55% 10-year bonds paying 6% interest. The marginal tax rate is 40%. The company is considered a fairly risky investment and probably commands a 12-point premium above the 4% rate on long-term treasury bonds. Jonathan Brewster's aunts, Abby and Martha, have just retired, and Brewster is the new CEO of the company. He would like to improve EVA for the company. Compute EVA under each of the following independent scenarios that Brewster is considering. Use spreadsheet to perform your calculations and round all percentage figures to four significant digits. No changes in number one. No changes are made. Calculate EVA using the original data. So for the original data with the 45% investment as given in equity and 55% to bonds. So we have now the after-tax cost and we have the weighted cost. So we have now the after-tax cost. Why we have 16, no? 0.16 or 16%. So we get zero point 0.6 minus zero point 0.6 times 0.40. So 0.06 multiplied by 0.40. So what do you get for that? If you multiply zero point 0.6 by 0.40, you now get 0.024 and deduct from 0.06, the result is 0.0360. We have now your weighted average cost of capital computed at 0.0918. Here the EVA is 192,000. That's supposed to be the operating income given, and then we deduct 0.918 times 2.3 million. That's the capital employed. So you get the result of a negative 19,140, meaning EVA is negative and the company is destroying wealth. Now we know what it means by destroying wealth. Okay, so that is now for requirement number 1. In requirement number 2, sugar will be used to replace another natural ingredient, atomic number 33, in the elderberry wine. This should not affect cost, but will begin to affect the market assessment of Brewster Company, bringing the premium above long-term treasury bills at 10% the first year and 7% the second year. Calculate revised EVA for both years. So in the case of requirement number 2, when we have now to work on years 1 and 2. So for year 1, again, we have the common stock of 45%, that's the equity, and 55% coming from issuance of bonds. So we have now the after-tax cost. If we are given the tax rate, that's equal to 40%, and the interest rate on the bonds is 6%, no? So we have now for the 10-year bonds giving us 0.0360, and for the common stock, that's 0.14. So we now get the weighted cost by multiplying the two. It gives us the weighted average cost of capital of 0.0828. Now the EVA is 192,000. That's the operating income. 192,000 minus the required rate of return 0.0828 multiplied by the amount of investments, that's 2.3 million. So we have now the EVA that's positive of 1,560. In year 2, the common stock is still 45% and the bonds of 55%, and we have now the after-tax cost of 11% and the weighted cost taken by multiplying the two. So in requirement number 2, bringing the premium above long term, the treasury bills to 10% the first year and 7% at the second year. So for the year 2, common stock of 11% and the 10-year bonds is still 55%, giving us positive EBA equal to 32,610. 32,610. Now, in requirement number 3, Brewster is considering expanding but needs additional capital. The company could borrow money but is considering selling more common stock, which would increase equity to 80% of total financing. Total capital employed would be 3 million. The new after-tax operating income will be $375,000. Using the original data, calculate EBA. Then, recalculate EBA, assuming the material substitution described in requirement 2. New after-tax income will be 375,000. And in year 1, the premium will be 10% above the long-term treasury rate. In year 2, it will be 7% above the long-term rate. Hint, you will calculate 3 EBAs for this requirement. So in number 3, we now begin with the common stock at 80% because we have now to sell additional shares. So with a total as given, total capital employed would be 3 million. So meaning the original capital was 2.3. So meaning you are going to add another 700,000, giving 80% to common stock and 20 only for the 10-year bonds. So the after-tax cost and we have the weighted cost, the 10-year bonds and the weighted average cost of capital. So the EBA would be 375,000. That's the new operating income minus your weighted average cost of capital multiplied by 3 million. 3 million is the new capital. So it gives us a positive EBA equal to 17,400. In requirement number 2, we have the common stock as the proportion of 75 and 25%. We have now your uh, EBA equal to here. We have the common stock, weighted cost of capital, and then we have the weighted average giving us 0.03 for the bonds. And finally, in requirement number 3, allocated to home, restaurant, and specialty. Actually,